Alex Carter stepped off the shuttle and onto the gleaming metal floor of Zix-7, the massive alien space station orbiting a distant star. His boots clicked softly against the surface as he took in his surroundings. The walls shimmered with an otherworldly glow, colors shifting faintly like waves on an ocean. Strange symbols were etched into the surfaces, glowing faintly in hues of blue and green. It was unlike anything Alex had ever seen before, but he didn't let his awe show. He kept his expression calm, his posture straight. Beside him, Rachel Monroe adjusted the strap of her satchel and glanced at the crowd gathering to greet them. She was shorter than Alex, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her dark hair was tied back neatly, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. Together, they represented Earth's diplomatic mission to the Zorgans, a species known for their advanced technology and even more advanced sense of superiority. The Zorgans stood taller than humans, their lean bodies covered in smooth, iridescent scales that reflected light in dazzling patterns. Their large, almond-shaped eyes seemed to pierce through everything, leaving no detail unnoticed. They moved gracefully, almost gliding across the floor as they approached the newcomers. At the center of the group stood Commander Vrax, the leader of the Zorgans. His presence dominated the room, not just because of his height, but also because of the air of authority he exuded. "Welcome," Vrax said, his voice deep and resonant, though it carried a hint of disdain. "You are representatives of Earth." He tilted his head slightly, studying Alex and Rachel as if they were specimens under a microscope. "Yes," Alex replied, speaking clearly despite the knot forming in his stomach. "We're here to strengthen ties between our peoples." Vrax's lips curled into what might have been a smirk. "Ties? With humans? You must understand, we Zorgans have encountered many species. Few are impressive." His gaze lingered on Alex, who felt the weight of the alien's judgment pressing down on him. Rachel stepped forward slightly, her tone polite but firm. "We may not share your level of technological advancement, Commander, but humanity has much to offer. Cooperation could benefit both our civilizations." One of the Zorgans behind Vrax chuckled quietly, earning a glare from Rachel. Alex clenched his fists briefly before relaxing them again. He knew this wouldn't be easy. The Zorgans had made it clear long before this meeting. They saw humans as weak, fragile beings unfit for the challenges of interstellar life. But Alex wasn't about to let their arrogance go unchallenged, even if he had to play along for now. As the group began walking toward the main hall, Alex couldn't help but notice how the Zorgans deliberately positioned themselves ahead of him and Rachel, as if trying to remind them of their supposed inferiority. He exchanged a glance with Rachel, who gave him a small, reassuring nod. They'd prepared for this. They'd trained for this. And Alex had something the Zorgans didn't expect, a secret weapon. Back on Earth, Alex had spent months honing his skills in combat simulations. While diplomacy was important, Alex knew there were times when action spoke louder than words. He didn't plan to reveal his abilities right away, but if the opportunity arose, he would make sure the Zorgans understood one thing: humans weren't as helpless as they believed. For now, though, Alex stayed silent, letting the Zorgans lead the way. The corridors of Zix-7 stretched endlessly ahead, filled with strange sights and sounds. Alien machinery hummed softly, and the air carried a faint metallic tang. As they walked, Alex kept his senses sharp, observing every detail. This was just the beginning, and already he could feel the tension simmering beneath the surface. Whatever happened next, Alex knew one thing for certain: he wasn't going to let anyone underestimate him again. The grand banquet hall of Zix-7 was a sight to behold. The ceiling stretched high above, adorned with glowing patterns that shifted like clouds in the sky. Long tables filled the room, laden with strange foods and drinks that shimmered faintly under the soft light. The air buzzed with quiet conversations as the Zorgans mingled among themselves, occasionally casting curious, or mocking, glances toward Alex and Rachel. Alex sat stiffly at the edge of one of the tables, his plate untouched. The food in front of him looked alien, literally and figuratively. Some dishes pulsed faintly, while others emitted a low hum. He wasn't sure if he should even try them. Rachel, seated beside him, picked at her food cautiously, though she managed to keep a polite smile on her face. She leaned closer to Alex and whispered, "Just stay calm. They're watching us." She didn't need to say it. Alex could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on him. The Zorgans weren't subtle about their scrutiny. Their sharp gazes seemed to dissect every move he made, every word he spoke or didn't speak. It was unnerving, but Alex refused to let it show. He kept his expression neutral, his posture relaxed, even as his mind raced. At the center of the room, Commander Vrax stood tall, holding court with a group of his warriors. His voice carried across the hall, deep and commanding, often punctuated by laughter from his companions. Alex couldn't understand most of what was being said. It was in the Zorgan language, but the tone was clear enough. Arrogance dripped from every syllable. Then came Kale, one of Vrax's top warriors. Kale swaggered over to where Alex and Rachel were sitting. He carried himself with an air of superiority, his scaled chest puffed out proudly. In his hand, he held a goblet filled with a glowing liquid. His lips curled into a smirk as he stopped in front of Alex. "So," Kale began, his voice loud enough for others nearby to hear, "this is one of Earth's finest. This, human." He tilted his head mockingly, his large eyes scanning Alex from head to toe. "You don't look very impressive." Rachel tensed beside Alex, but he remained still, his jaw tightening ever so slightly. He met Cal's gaze steadily, refusing to look away. "Appearances can be deceiving," Alex replied calmly, his voice steady despite the rising tension in the room. Kale laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the hall. Several Zorgans turned to watch, their expressions amused. "Is that so?" Kale sneered. "Prove it then. Show us what you're capable of." A hush fell over the room. Even Commander Vrax paused mid-sentence, his attention drawn to the unfolding scene. Alex felt all eyes on him now, expectant and judgmental. His heart pounded, but he kept his composure. He glanced at Rachel briefly, who gave him a small, almost imperceptible nod. She trusted him. "What do you suggest?" Alex asked, his tone measured. He already knew where this was going. Kale grinned, baring his sharp teeth. "We have combat drills here. Simulations designed to test skill and strength. Face me in one, human. Let's see if you're more than just talk." For a moment, Alex hesitated. Combat simulations weren't part of the diplomatic agenda, and stepping into the ring with a Zorgan warrior would only fuel their arrogance if he failed. But refusing would make things worse. If he backed down now, the Zorgans would never take humans seriously. "I accept," Alex said finally, his voice firm. The words sent a ripple through the crowd. Some Zorgans chuckled, clearly expecting an easy victory for Cal. Others exchanged intrigued glances, curious to see how the human would fare. Commander Vrax stepped forward, his towering frame looming over both Alex and Kale. "Very well," he said, his voice dripping with amusement. "Let us witness this demonstration. Perhaps it will entertain us." He gestured toward a doorway leading to the simulation arena. "Follow me." As they walked, Alex focused on steadying his breathing. He could feel the weight of the challenge ahead, but he also felt something else, a flicker of determination. The Zorgans thought they had already won, that he would crumble under pressure. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Rachel trailed behind, her expression unreadable. When Alex glanced back at her, she mouthed two words. "You've got this." And for the first time since arriving on 6-7, Alex allowed himself a small, confident smile. The simulation arena was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. The moment he stepped inside, the walls shimmered and dissolved into a holographic battlefield. Towering trees made of light stretched high above, their branches swaying as if caught in an invisible wind. The ground beneath his feet shifted from smooth metal to uneven terrain, covered in rocks and patches of glowing moss. Somewhere in the distance, a low rumble echoed, like thunder rolling across the horizon. Kale stood opposite him, his scaled body gleaming under the artificial sunlight. He held a staff-like weapon in his hands, its tip crackling with energy. The Zorgan warrior grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. Ready to lose, human? He taunted, spinning the staff effortlessly. Alex didn't respond. Instead, he focused on the environment around him, taking in every detail. His own weapon, a simple training baton provided by the Zorgans, felt unfamiliar in his grip, but he wasn't about to let that stop him. He adjusted his stance, planting his feet firmly on the ground. His heart raced, but years of combat training kicked in, calming his mind and sharpening his senses. Commander Vrax's voice boomed through the arena. Begin. Kale moved first, lunging forward with surprising speed. The staff whistled through the air, aimed directly at Alex's chest. Instinctively, Alex sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the blow. The force of Cal's strike sent a shockwave rippling through the ground where Alex had been standing just moments before. The crowd of Zorgans watching from the observation deck erupted into cheers, clearly rooting for their warrior. Alex ignored them, focusing solely on Kale. Another strike came, this time aimed at his legs. Alex jumped back, barely dodging it. The alien's attacks were fast and powerful, leaving little room for error. Rachel watched anxiously from the sidelines, her hands clenched into fists. She knew Alex was skilled, but seeing him face such a formidable opponent was nerve-wracking. Still, she reminded herself of everything Alex had been through. The countless hours spent training, the sacrifices he'd made to get here. If anyone could hold their own against a Zorgan warrior, it was him. As the fight continued, Alex began to notice patterns in Cal's movements. The Zorgan favored aggressive attacks, relying on his superior strength and speed to overwhelm his opponents. But aggression often came with recklessness, and Alex was determined to exploit that weakness. When Cal swung his staff again, Alex didn't dodge entirely. Instead, he stepped closer, using the momentum of Cal's swing to push the weapon aside. Before Cal could recover, Alex struck back, landing a solid hit on the alien's side with his baton. The impact wasn't enough to incapacitate Cal, but it surprised him. And the crowd. Murmurs spread among the Zorgans. Some looked impressed, while others seemed irritated that the human was putting up more of a fight than expected. Cal growled, his confidence wavering slightly. He renewed his assault, striking harder and faster than before. Alex struggled to keep up, his arms aching from blocking repeated blows. But then, something clicked. Alex spotted an opening, just a small one, and seized it. As Cal raised his staff for another attack, Alex dropped low, sweeping his leg out to knock the alien off balance. Cal stumbled, his footing faltering for the first time. Alex pressed his advantage, driving forward with a series of quick strikes that forced Cal to retreat. The tide was turning. The Zorgans fell silent, their earlier amusement replaced by stunned disbelief. Even Commander Vrax leaned forward in his seat, his expression unreadable. For the first time, they were beginning to see Alex not as a helpless human, but as a serious contender. As the fight wore on, Alex's confidence grew. He might not have the raw power of the Zorgan warrior, but he had something else: strategy, adaptability, and determination. And those qualities, he realized, were far more valuable than brute strength. The fight in the simulation arena had reached its peak. Cal, the Zorgan warrior, was no longer laughing. His earlier arrogance had faded, replaced by frustration and disbelief. Alex could see it in the alien's glowing eyes. Cal hadn't expected this human to last so long, let alone push him to his limits. But Alex wasn't done yet. With every strike Cal threw, Alex found ways to counter it. He used the uneven terrain to his advantage, ducking behind rocks and weaving through glowing trees to avoid direct hits. The holographic environment shifted constantly, creating new obstacles and opportunities. Alex adapted quickly, staying one step ahead of his opponent. Each time Kale swung his staff, Alex either dodged or redirected the blow, turning the alien's strength against him. Rachel watched from the observation deck, her heart pounding. She had seen Alex train countless times, but watching him face a real opponent like Kale was something else entirely. She clenched her fists as Kale unleashed another powerful attack, the energy crackling dangerously close to Alex's head. But Alex didn't flinch. Instead, he rolled to the side and came up swinging, landing another precise hit with his baton. This time, Kale staggered backward, clearly shaken. The crowd of Zorgans murmured among themselves, their earlier amusement now replaced by tension. Some leaned forward, their glowing eyes fixed on the battle below. Others exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of the human who refused to back down. Commander Vrax remained silent, his arms crossed over his chest, but his sharp gaze betrayed his growing interest. Kale roared in frustration and charged again, abandoning finesse for raw power. He swung his staff wildly, aiming to overwhelm Alex with sheer force. But Alex stood his ground, his movements calm and calculated. He waited for the right moment, then stepped into Kale's attack instead of away from it. Using the momentum of Kale's swing, Alex twisted his body and struck upward with his baton, hitting the alien's weapon hand hard enough to make him drop the staff. The sound of the staff clattering to the ground echoed through the arena. For a moment, everything went still. Kale stared at his empty hands, then at Alex, who stood poised and ready, his baton pointed directly at the alien's chest. The Zorgans in the observation deck fell completely silent, their disbelief palpable. "You're finished," Alex said, his voice steady and calm. There was no anger in his tone, only quiet confidence. Kale hesitated, then slowly raised his hands in surrender. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some Zorgans looked impressed, while others seemed almost offended that a human had bested one of their warriors. Commander Vrax rose from his seat, his expression unreadable. He descended to the arena floor, his tall frame towering over both Alex and Kale. "Well done," Vrax said finally, his deep voice cutting through the silence. He glanced at Kale, who avoided his gaze, then turned to Alex. "I underestimated you, human. It seems there is more to your kind than I believed." Alex lowered his baton, his breathing still heavy from the fight. He nodded respectfully. "We may not have your strength or technology, but we know how to adapt. Sometimes that makes all the difference." Vrax studied him for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "Indeed. Perhaps there is value in learning from each other." Rachel exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. She stepped forward, joining Alex on the arena floor. "This doesn't just prove humanity's strength," she said, addressing Vrax. "It shows we can work together. Imagine what we could achieve if we combined our knowledge and skills." Vrax considered her words, his expression thoughtful. For the first time since their arrival, the Zorgans seemed genuinely interested in what the humans had to offer. The hostility that had hung thick in the air began to fade, replaced by curiosity and cautious respect. As the simulation ended and the holographic environment dissolved back into the plain metal walls of the arena, Alex allowed himself a small smile. He had proven his point, not just to the Zorgans, but to himself. Humans weren't helpless. They were resourceful, resilient, and capable of standing toe-to-toe with even the most advanced species. And this was only the beginning. After the combat simulation, Alex and Rachel were invited to a private meeting with Commander Vrax. The atmosphere was different now, less hostile, more curious. The Zorgans who had once dismissed them as weak and unimpressive were now watching their every move with newfound interest. Even Kale, who had been so quick to mock Alex earlier, gave him a respectful nod as they passed in the hallway. The meeting took place in a smaller chamber, its walls lined with glowing panels that cast a soft light over the room. Commander Vrax sat at the center of a circular table, his scaled hands resting on its smooth surface. His large eyes studied Alex and Rachel intently as they entered, but there was no trace of mockery in his gaze this time, only thoughtful consideration. "You fought well," Vrax began, his deep voice filling the room. "I admit, I did not expect such skill from a human. Tell me, how did you learn to fight like that?" Alex hesitated for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "On Earth, we understand that strength isn't just about power or speed. It's about strategy, patience, and knowing your enemy. We train to adapt to any situation because we've faced many challenges in our history." Vrax tilted his head slightly, intrigued. Adaptability. An interesting concept. Perhaps it is something we Zorgans could benefit from learning. He paused, then added, "But tell me, what else can your people offer? Surely there must be more to humanity than combat skills." Rachel stepped forward, her tone calm but confident. "We have technology that might interest you. Our advancements in energy systems, communication networks, and medical research are unique. While they may not match yours in some areas, they complement them in ways you might not expect." Vrax's expression softened, though his curiosity remained evident. "Explain further." Rachel nodded and began describing Earth's innovations, using simple terms to ensure the Zorgans understood. She explained how humans had developed efficient ways to harness renewable energy, created tools for faster interstellar communication, and even designed medicines capable of treating diseases across species. As she spoke, the Zorgans listened intently, their glowing eyes reflecting a mix of fascination and skepticism. Alex chimed in, adding his perspective. "What makes us strong isn't just our technology or our ability to fight. It's our willingness to work together, to solve problems as a team. No matter where we come from on Earth, we've learned that unity is key to survival." Commander Vrax leaned back in his seat, his fingers tapping lightly against the table. "Unity. Teamwork." He repeated the words slowly, as if testing their weight. "These are concepts we Zorgans value as well, though perhaps not in the same way. Your approach is intriguing." The conversation continued for some time, with Alex and Rachel answering questions about Earth's culture, history, and achievements. They shared stories of humanity's struggles and triumphs, emphasizing resilience and creativity. The Zorgans, particularly Vrax, seemed genuinely interested, asking follow-up questions and occasionally exchanging glances with one another. By the end of the meeting, the tension between the two groups had eased significantly. Vrax stood and addressed Alex and Rachel directly. "You have given me much to think about. Perhaps there is merit in forming a closer alliance with your people. We have much to gain, and perhaps much to teach each other." Alex felt a surge of hope. This was exactly what they had hoped to achieve when they came to Zix-7. "We're ready to learn too," he replied. "If we combine our strengths, there's no limit to what we can accomplish." As they left the chamber, Rachel turned to Alex with a small smile. "Do you think they'll really consider working with us?" "I think they already are," Alex said, his voice steady. "Today proved that we're more than just helpless creatures. Now it's up to us to show them what else we can do." The Zorgans watched them leave, their expressions thoughtful. For the first time, there was a sense of possibility in the air, a chance for two very different species to build something greater together. Just as the mood on Zix-7 began to shift toward cooperation, an alarm blared through the space station. The sound was sharp and urgent, cutting through the calm like a knife. Lights flickered overhead, turning from their usual soft glow to a harsh red. Alex and Rachel exchanged a glance, their earlier sense of hope quickly replaced by tension. "What's happening?" Alex asked, his voice steady despite the sudden chaos. Commander Vrax entered the room, his expression grim. "We are under attack," he said, his deep voice carrying both authority and concern. "A rogue faction, known as the Vrykins, is approaching. They seek to seize control of Zix-7 and its resources. The Zorgans sprang into action, moving with precision and purpose. Kale and other warriors gathered weapons, while technicians worked furiously at control panels, preparing the station's defenses. But even with their advanced technology, it was clear the Zorgans were outnumbered. The Vrykins were ruthless and well-armed, a threat that had troubled the Zorgans for years. Vrax turned to Alex and Rachel. "You should prepare to evacuate. This is not your fight." Alex shook his head firmly. "We're not leaving. You've seen what we can do. Let us help." Rachel nodded in agreement. "Humanity has faced threats like this before. We know how to adapt and survive. Together, we might stand a chance." For a moment, Vrax hesitated. Then he gave a slow nod. "Very well. But understand, this will be dangerous." With no time to waste, Alex and Rachel joined the effort. Alex worked alongside Kale, helping strategize how to defend the station. He suggested using the holographic systems they'd seen in the combat arena to create decoys and confuse the enemy. Rachel, meanwhile, collaborated with the Zorgan engineers, offering ideas to boost the station's energy shields using Earth's renewable power methods. As the Vrykins launched their assault, the battle began. The attackers fired powerful energy beams at 6-7, shaking the entire station. Explosions rocked the corridors, sending debris flying. Alex led a small strike team, including Kale, into one of the outer sections of the station where the invaders had breached. The two former rivals fought side by side now, their earlier animosity replaced by mutual respect. Rachel stayed behind, coordinating communications between teams and ensuring everyone knew where reinforcements were needed most. Her quick thinking saved lives more than once, rerouting power to critical areas just in time to hold off the enemy. The fighting was intense. The Vrykins were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. But Alex and the others held their ground, using every trick and tactic they could think of. At one point, Alex found himself cornered by 3 Vrykin soldiers. Just as he thought all was lost, Kale appeared, taking down 2 of them with swift strikes of his staff. Together, they defeated the third. "This isn't over yet," Kale said, his voice gruff but determined. Alex nodded, grateful for the unexpected alliance. Back in the command center, Rachel worked tirelessly, her fingers flying over the controls. She managed to disable several of the Vrykin ships by hacking into their systems, a skill she learned during her training on Earth. The Zorgans looked on in awe as the enemy fleet began to retreat. Finally, after hours of relentless combat, the Vrykins withdrew. The station was damaged, but it still stood, exhausted but victorious. Alex, Rachel, and the Zorgans gathered in the main hall. Commander Vrax addressed the group, his tone filled with gratitude. "Today, you have proven yourselves not just as allies, but as equals. Humanity's strength is undeniable. From this day forward, we stand united." Alex and Rachel exchanged a look, knowing they had achieved far more than they'd hoped. They hadn't just survived, they had earned the Zorgans' trust, and in doing so, they had taken the first step toward a brighter future for both species. The aftermath of the battle left Zik-7 battered but standing. The once pristine halls of the space station were now scarred with scorch marks and scattered debris. Repair crews moved quickly, their glowing tools humming as they worked to restore the station's functionality. Despite the damage, there was a sense of relief in the air, a shared understanding that they had won against overwhelming odds. Alex stood near one of the observation windows, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. His body ached from the fight, and his mind was still processing everything that had happened. Beside him, Rachel leaned against the wall, her arms crossed. She looked tired but satisfied, a small smile playing on her lips. "You did it," she said softly, breaking the silence. "You proved them wrong." Alex shook his head. "Not just me. All of us. If we hadn't worked together, humans and Zorgans, we wouldn't have made it." Rachel nodded in agreement. "Still, you were the one who showed them what we're capable of." You changed their minds." Before Alex could respond, Commander Vrax approached, his tall frame casting a shadow over them. For the first time since their arrival, the Zorgan leader's expression was warm, almost admiring. "I owe you both my thanks," he said, his deep voice carrying sincerity. "Without your courage and ingenuity, Zix-7 would have fallen." "It wasn't just us," Alex replied. "Your people fought hard too. We couldn't have done it without them." Vrax gave a slow nod. "True, but today has shown me something important. That strength isn't measured by power alone. It's about unity, strategy, and trust. Your kind has taught us that." Rachel stepped forward. "And we've learned from you too. This alliance can go further than just defense. Imagine what we could achieve if we combined our knowledge and resources." Vrax's eyes glimmered with interest. "An intriguing idea. Perhaps this is the beginning of something greater, a partnership that benefits both our species." As the days passed, repairs continued, and plans for the future began to take shape. Alex and Rachel spent hours discussing possibilities with the Zorgans, sharing ideas about technology, medicine, and exploration. Kale, who had once mocked Alex, now treated him with genuine respect, often seeking his input during strategy sessions. The bond between humans and Zorgans grew stronger with each passing day. Finally, the time came for Alex and Rachel to return to Earth. As they prepared to board their shuttle, the Zorgans gathered to see them off. Commander Vrax stood at the forefront, flanked by Kale and other warriors. The farewell was simple but heartfelt. "Safe travels," Vrax said, raising a hand in a gesture of respect. "We look forward to working with your people again soon." Alex nodded, gratitude swelling in his chest. "Thank you for trusting us. We'll make sure humanity honors this alliance." Rachel added, "This is just the start. There's so much more we can do together." As the shuttle lifted off, Alex and Rachel watched Zix-7 grow smaller through the window. The station sparkled faintly in the starlight, a symbol of hope and cooperation. They had arrived as strangers, underestimated and dismissed, but they were leaving as equals, partners in a new era of interstellar relations. Back on Earth, Alex and Rachel reported their success to their superiors. Their mission had not only secured peace with the Zorgans, but also opened doors for future collaboration. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer defined by weakness or fear. Instead, it was marked by resilience, adaptability, and the willingness to stand alongside others. In the quiet moments afterward, Alex reflected on everything they had accomplished. He thought about the battles they had fought, the lessons they had learned, and the friendships they had forged. One thing was certain. The universe was vast, full of challenges and opportunities alike. But if humans and Zorgans could face those challenges together, there was no limit to what they could achieve. As he looked up at the night sky, Alex felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had proven themselves, not just to the Zorgans, but to themselves. And that was only the beginning.